Rain hammered against the hospital windows as if the sky itself was grieving. Daniel Carter sat alone in a plastic chair outside the pediatric intensive care unit, his hands trembling around a paper cup of cold coffee. He hadn't touched for hours. His 7-year-old daughter, Emma, was fighting a serious heart condition behind those doors, and every second felt heavier than the last. The fluorescent lights above him flickered softly, casting long shadows across the empty hallway. Nurses moved. Quietly, doctors spoke in hushed voices, families came and went, but Daniel remained exactly where he was, staring at the floor, carrying a weight that seemed impossible for one person to bear. 3 years earlier, his wife had passed away unexpectedly, leaving him to raise Emma alone. Since then, every day had been a battle between grief, responsibility, and survival. He worked long shifts as a warehouse employee, often sacrificing sleep just to keep food on the table and medical bills paid. Yet despite everything he did, life seemed determined to test him again and again. That night, as thunder echoed outside, Daniel felt completely defeated. Then, something happened that would change both his life and the life of a woman he had never truly met. Before we continue, if you believe kindness can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Dream Porch Stories for more emotional and inspiring stories. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts around the world. Daniel lowered his head into his hands. He didn't know how much longer he could stay strong. The doctors had explained that Emma would eventually need an expensive surgery. Insurance covered only part of it. The remaining cost was more money than he could imagine earning. Yet somehow, every year, anonymous donations had arrived exactly when he needed them most. The first came after Emma's diagnosis. The second appeared when medical debt nearly forced him to sell his home. The third arrived when Emma needed specialized treatment in another city. Each donation came through a charitable foundation with no name attached, no explanations, no conditions, no clues, only hope. Daniel often wondered who could possibly care enough about a struggling single father they had never met. He never found the answer. Across the city, in a glass tower overlooking the skyline, billionaire entrepreneur Sophia Bennett stared out at the storm from her office window. At 38 years old, Sophia was one of the most successful businesswomen in the country. Her technology company employed thousands of people. Financial magazines featured her regularly. Investors admired her vision. Reporters followed her every move. But despite her success, Sophia carried her own invisible wounds. 10 years earlier, she had lost her younger brother, Michael, to a rare illness. They had been inseparable. His death left a hole in her life that success could never fill. After inheriting control of the family business, Sophia quietly established a charitable program dedicated to helping children with severe medical condition. She reviewed many of the applications personally. One application had stayed with her: Daniel Carter, a widowed father struggling to save his daughter. Sophia remembered reading his story late one evening years ago. Something about his determination reminded her of her own father. Something about Emma reminded her of Michael. Without revealing her identity, she approved support for the family. Then, she continued approving assistance year after year. She never expected to meet them, until fate intervened. A week later, Sophia attended a fundraising event at the Children's Hospital. The gala attracted donors, executives, and community leaders. Cameras flashed. Speeches filled the ballroom, yet Sophia found herself slipping away from the crowd. She wandered through a quieter section of the hospital where families waited during treatments. That was when she noticed a man sitting alone beside a window. His clothes were simple. His shoulders looked exhausted. A small stuffed rabbit rested beside him. There was something heartbreakingly familiar about the sadness in his eyes. Without realizing who he was, Sophia felt compelled to approach. She paused beside the empty chair. "Can I sit with you?" Daniel looked up. For a moment, he almost laughed at the absurdity. One of the most famous Women in the country was asking permission to sit beside him. He nodded politely. Sophia sat down. Neither of them spoke immediately. The silence felt strangely comfortable. Eventually, they began talking. Not about wealth, not about business, not about success. Instead, they talked about loss. Daniel spoke carefully about raising Emma alone. Sophia shared how losing her brother had changed her perspective on life. As the conversation continued, both felt an unexpected connection. It wasn't romantic, it was human. Two people carrying grief, two people trying to find purpose beyond pain. When Sophia finally returned to the gala, she couldn't stop thinking about the conversation. Neither could Daniel. Over the next several months, their paths crossed repeatedly at the hospital. Sophia made time to visit Emma. Emma adored her immediately. The little girl loved Sophia's warmth and sense of humor. Daniel appreciated the way Sophia treated Emma, like a person rather than a patient. Still, he never viewed Sophia as anything more than a kind volunteer. He had no idea who she really was. Sophia never mentioned her wealth. She preferred it that way. For the first time in years, she felt seen for who she was rather than what she owned. One afternoon, Emma was drawing pictures in her hospital room when she handed Sophia a crayon sketch. It showed 3 figures holding hands beneath a bright yellow sun. Sophia smiled. Then, she noticed tears forming in Daniel's eyes. "What is it?" she asked softly. Daniel stared at the drawing. Emma had labeled the figures. Daddy, Emma, Sophia. The image touched something deep inside all of them. For a brief moment, the room felt less like a hospital and more like a family. Months passed. Emma's condition worsened. Doctors confirmed the surgery could no longer wait. The cost was enormous. Daniel tried everything. Additional jobs, loans, fundraisers, extra shifts. Nothing was enough. One evening, after putting Emma to sleep, he sat alone in the hospital chapel. The room was quiet, except for distant echoes from the hallway. He felt defeated, completely defeated. Meanwhile, Sophia sat in her office reviewing financial reports. An urgent message from her foundation appeared on her screen. Emma's surgery deadline had arrived. Without hesitation, Sophia authorized the largest donation yet. She never considered doing otherwise. To her, helping Emma wasn't charity anymore. It felt personal. The next morning, hospital administrators informed Daniel that the remaining balance had been covered. Every dollar, the surgery could proceed. Daniel was speechless. Again, the mysterious donor had appeared. Again, his daughter had been given another chance. He stared at the paperwork. His eyes filled with tears. Somewhere out there, someone believed Emma's life mattered. Someone kept showing up when hope was running out. He wished he could thank them. What Daniel didn't know was that the person he wanted to thank was standing only a few floors away. The surgery lasted several hours. They were the longest hours of Daniel's life. Sophia waited too, not because anyone asked her to, because she cared. When the surgeon finally emerged with good news, relief swept through both of them like sunlight, breaking through storm clouds. Emma would recover. The procedure had been successful. Daniel cried openly. Sophia quietly stepped aside, allowing father and daughter their moment. Yet her own tears fell as well. For years, she had supported families from a distance. This was different. This time she had witnessed the struggle firsthand. This time, she understood exactly what her donations had accomplished. Weeks later, Emma's recovery progressed beautifully. Life slowly returned to normal. Then, something unexpected happened. An investigative journalist published a feature about Sophia Bennett's charitable foundation. The article highlighted several anonymous recipients who had received life-changing assistance. 1. Hi SDYNA. Photograph attached to the article stopped Daniel cold. There was Sophia standing beside a banner displaying the foundation's name. The same foundation listed on every donation document he had ever received. Daniel's heart raced. He checked old records, then newer ones, again and again. The answer became impossible to deny. Sophia had been the anonymous donor. Sophia had helped save Emma. Sophia had supported them for years. Sophia had carried their burden when she had no obligation to do so. The realization overwhelmed him, not because she was a billionaire, not because of the money, but because she had never once sought recognition. She never mentioned it. She never used it to gain gratitude. She simply helped. The next day, Daniel asked Sophia to meet him at a small park where Emma loved feeding birds. As the sun began setting, golden light filled the trees. Sophia arrived, smiling. Then she saw the article in Daniel's hands. For a moment, she understood. The secret was gone. Neither spoke immediately. Finally, Daniel looked at her. His eyes were filled with emotion. He told her he knew everything. Every donation, every act of kindness, every sacrifice. Sophia looked away. She had never wanted thanks. But Daniel's next words stayed with her forever. He explained that money had saved Emma's life. Yet, kindness had saved his own. When grief nearly consumed him, hope arrived. When despair convinced him to quit, someone believed in him. When the world felt empty, compassion reminded him he wasn't alone. Sophia couldn't hold back her tears. Years of private giving had never prepared her for hearing the impact directly. At that moment, both realized something profound. Lives are rarely changed by money alone. They are changed by people who choose to care. Before we reach the ending, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment with the words, "Kindness changes lives." It helps spread positivity and lets us know you're watching from the heart. Emma Sakon eventually returned to school. Her health improved dramatically. Daniel continued working hard, but life no longer felt impossible. Sophia remained part of their lives, not as a billionaire, not as a benefactor, but as family in the truest sense of the word. Years later, Emma would tell people that she survived because of doctors, medicine, and one extraordinary woman who taught her that kindness never truly disappears. It travels from one heart to another, and sometimes it returns when you need it most. As the sun set on another ordinary evening, Daniel watched Emma laughing in the backyard, while Sophia joined them for dinner. The pain of the past would never completely vanish, but it no longer controlled their future, because hope had entered their lives disguised as a stranger, asking a simple question, "Can I sit with you?" And that simple act of compassion changed everything. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Dream Porch Stories. Leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and what part of this story moved you most. Your engagement helps these uplifting stories reach more people who may need a reminder that kindness, compassion, and second chances still exist in the world. The greatest miracles often begin not with grand gestures, but with small moments of genuine human connection. And sometimes, the person quietly changing your life has been standing beside you all along.